There's just general material about how the formula works, what the elements are, what our proposals are. On the second page, there's that table that I referenced before about the state formula, how it distributes funds by quintile, which I believe is the most appropriate way to analyze how the formula is working. Not these typologies by the Education Department that looks at geography, because geography has no place in the formula. Okay, it's capacity that is what the formula looks at, not geography. And you will see here by the chart that the lower quintile you're in the lower quintile do better. There is more money being driven into the lower quintiles than to the higher quintiles. That's how the formula should work. It would work better if we didn't have guarantees and caps, but nonetheless, it still works. It still works. At the bottom there, we kind of explain what are key factors, definitions, determinations in the formula, and it kind of explains what factors might make the formula move. Then I want to particularly call your attention to the last page, because I know this is what your readers, you think your readers want to know.
The readers tell us they want to know this too. Thank you.
So we've kind of analyzed the ADM change, right? Based on the ADMs that have been given to us by the Department of Education. 106 school districts have ADM, in the 11 to 16 period, 106 school districts had ADM that grew. Therefore, they stay on the 100% base. 181 school districts had decline between 0 and 5%. Therefore, they will maintain the 100% base. 322 districts experienced decline in ADM greater than 5%. And so, therefore, their guarantee base will be reduced up to a maximum of 95, or down to a maximum of 95. But that does not mean they're all going to be impacted by that. Because of those 322 districts, 89 are projected to receive an increase in 18 through the formula, or a significant enough increase through the formula that they'll be subject to the gain cap. Of these 322, 233 will receive a decrease in 18. 48 of those are going to be on the formula but get a calculated negative number. 233, the formula is going to say they should get less money than their new guarantee base, and so they will be on the guarantee. So with a guarantee less than 100%, there's a new phenomena, and that is districts that are on the formula, but the formula yields less than the amount of money they got in the comparison year, in this case FY17. And so we have 48 of those. Well, no, it doesn't cap them. I mean, the formula runs, but their calculated aid is like in between 100% and their formula base. You know, say it's 96. Their formula aid might say, hey, you should get 97% of last year. They'll be a formula district. They'd be a guarantee district if the formula said, hey, you should get 93%, but you're 96, so the guarantee brings them up to 96. So again, just because a district has less than 5%, had a 5% loss in students, doesn't mean they're going to be on this guarantee. There are 48 districts that grow, and again, Jackie, we talked about Cleveland being one of them. So that's ADM change analysis. The next is aid change analysis. So in 18, we have 256 districts, and again, recall, you know, these are all estimates based on projections and information we have now. What districts actually get paid it'll be how many students they actually have and what their valuations actually are and what their, the types of students they have, all that sort of thing. 256 school districts will receive an increase. That includes districts that will get paid their calculated formula amount and districts that have their formula amount capped under the gain cap. 8 will be flat, 346 receive a decrease. And then we have the similar numbers for 19. 255 increases, 309 no change, 46 with a decrease.
Just to double check, back up in the section before that, you said of the 233 districts, 48 are projected. I thought you said an increase. This says a decrease.
Well, I might have misspoke. So these are the 322 districts. Yes, these are the 233 districts. These are districts that have 5% or less, right? They're losing 5% or more. Of those 233, of those 322, 233 are supposed to receive a decrease in their foundation funding. Of those 233, 48 receive a decrease via the formula. It's what I just talked to Chrissy about. The formula produces a negative number, as opposed to the 185, where the formula produces a number that is negative enough that it's below their guarantee base, and so then they are on the guarantee. There's 233 districts that are going to get a decrease. 48, it's via the formula. 185, it's via because they're on the guarantee. So again, there's a new element there, negative formula districts.
Why not keep a guarantee in place for those districts, those 48?
Because they've lost more than 5% of their student population. And if you've lost more than 5% of your student population, that is an appreciable number, and you ought to be able to manage costs.
Back to, just real quick on the base per pupil amount staying the same, do you expect pushback from the charter school community on that? That tends to be their number one driver of revenue is that base number.
Perhaps. I mean, I expect pushback from the whole school community, so they wouldn't be alone in that. So jumping back down to the Formula A change amounts. In 18, right? 610 school districts. We've talked about this, 256 are calculated formula aid, 8 have no change, 346 have the decreases we mentioned above. Okay, that's not where I want to be. Here's where I want to be, down at the bottom, a note on foundation aid reductions. Right, we talked about there's 346 district there's 346 districts that are going to get less aid in 18. $187 of them receive a reduction of less than $100,000. 71 of them receive a reduction of less than $5,000. 32 more, the reduction is between $5,000 and $10,000. 28 between $10,000 and $25,000. So my point is, these are in context, these are in many cases very small numbers. I mean, for most of these districts below 10,000, it's 1/10 of 1%. And again, I think that's on the chart. We have that on that's on the chart. We have the percent change in the aid loss. So a lot of these negative numbers are very, very small.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, so that's I did skip this next part because it kind of the part that explains the aid change. It kind of indicates what's going on here. You know, there are a number of districts who get decreases as a result of the current law that was enacted in the budget bill we have now that places career tech education funding outside of the guarantee. So that's a decision that was already taken, that they wanted career tech to move up or down depending on the number of kids and not be subject to the guarantee. So that a lot of the districts with very, very small negative numbers, it's because of career tech. There's a small additional number that move around because we propose that the third grade reading proficiency bonus and the graduation bonus be outside of the guarantee. And again, I talked about in my testimony, if these are bonuses for performance, like why would we guarantee them to be paid out into the future? They ought to stand by themselves.
I can't remember if this was something you guys proposed initially or not. Does the governor like, I mean, he obviously is not changing them, but does he like having bonuses for graduation, bonuses for third grade reading performance?
I have not talked to him. He and I have never talked about that. I mean, he signed the bill with them in, but he and I have never talked about them. So again, you'll write stories that say 346 districts get less money, but I would urge you to contextualize that. A lot of these numbers are very small. Almost every district on this list has an ending fund balance that is significantly larger than any of these numbers below 100,000.
So here's a question. I have a line in a story like this, I'm sure a lot of other people do too, that the plan is likely, but it is unlikely to remain intact. There's always tweaks to it at least, right? And we know that lawmakers really don't like cutting schools, period, right? So we'll have to see what happens. But do you think it's
Notwithstanding, appreciable loss of students.
I'm very aware of your perspective on that. Do you think it's even possible though? I mean, this is a huge number of schools. A lot of them are getting very small reductions, as you mentioned, but it's a huge number of schools that have lost students and under your plan would get a reduction. Do you think it's even possible to change it so they don't lose
I think we have the best opportunity we have had in a long time to get this guarantee proposal adopted into law, because I think we have targeted it and crafted it in such a way that it just makes sense. If you've lost an appreciable number of students, why should we continue to pay you the same amount of money that we did previously? I mean, just go out on the street and take a poll of people. This school district lost 17% of its kids. Should we pay it the same amount of money we did last year? What will the man on the street say? No. Why would we do that? Where else in the world would that happen but in school funding? I realize what the poll of school superintendents would be and school board members, but what would the man on the street say? I think that's the test that members of the General Assembly ought to use to judge this.
With your reduction in the minimum share for transfer